Hello, Internet. You'll have to forgive me if my room's a bit of a mess because, well, Monster Clash was kind of hectic, but I got something in the mail today. Yeah, it may not seem like much, but basically, I ordered the DVD slash manga bundle where it was basically 30 random DVDs, 25 random volumes of manga from Crunchyroll's store because I'm a Crunchyroll user, and I thought it'd be nice to just, I don't know, see what I get. And, well, as specifically requested by one Aldo Gomez of Board Offline, Anime Overdub ES, I decided to do an unboxing video to show you what I've got. I have not opened this at all, so I'm going to be learning what I got in these boxes at the same time as you. So with that, let's transition to the proper setup with hopefully some better audio without my hand covering the microphone. Alright, so here we are. Hopefully I'm sounding a little bit better now that I can actually use my Zoom recorder. My cat is freaking out right now because she normally sleeps in here, but she's not used to me talking a lot in here, so given that she's trapped, she'll just have to deal. No, I'm not going to show her on camera because it took me forever to set this up, and I'm currently using a pocket mirror to see where I'm going. So, yeah, this is the box. I don't know if it's the manga bundle or the anime bundle. Just taking a quick drink from my Domo cup. So, yeah, I don't know if it's the manga bundle, don't know if it's the anime bundle. So, yeah, let's rock and roll. Okay. Alright, that's out. And gotta be careful in case it is the books. But it looks like the middle's already kind of loose, so that won't be too problematic. This is weird tape that does that whole string thing. I guess it makes it stronger. Makes it harder to hold. Gonna have to make sure to blur out my address. Okay, box is open. And gotta get past the packing paper. And we have the manga bundle. And wow. Looking at this, these are all leftover from the now defunct Tokyo Pop. So, wow, this is an obscure find. Alright, so starting from what is to my left, but is to the right of the frame, because, well, yeah, in your case, I'll start from the right, because, well, manga reads from right to left. So, first we have Gravitation Volume 3. Now, I'm actually familiar with this series because, well, my sister is a huge fan of Gravitation, and she probably already has this volume, and I've seen a little bit of the anime. I've had the music stuck in my head back when I listened to it, because, well, Sleepless Beauty, Spicy Marmalade, Breathless Night Slide, I've no style. The music is pretty dang catchy. So, yeah, Gravitation Volume 3, little out of sequence, but hey, a nice, interesting find to get from Crunchyroll. So, off to an interesting start. Next we have Me and My Brothers Volume 6. And now my cat is trying to get in frame. Cinnamon, kitty, get down, please. Oh, come on, Cinnamon, seriously. Okay, come on. Okay, sorry about that, folks. My cat was misbehaving. So, yeah, I've not heard of this series, so... And given that it's Volume 6, well... This one doesn't seem to have, like, a general premise of it. It just says, when Tsuyoshi returns home all beat up, Masashi and Sakura can't help but wonder what happened. It's a good distraction to help them stop thinking about what's happened on Valentine's Day, but as the two play detective, they follow Tsuyoshi to the hospital where they make a startling discovery that just may make their household even more crowded. So, yeah, I'm gonna have no idea what is going on, so I'm gonna be completely lost. So, yeah. So, we've got one I'm familiar with that I vaguely know the story, and one that I'm not so familiar with that will be interesting to try to make sense of. Alright, next we've got Sky Blue Shore by Nanpei Yamada. It's Volume 1, so it's the start of the story, which means I won't be as lost. Basic premise. Tomo, sweet high school girl, loves living near the beach. However, after her parents get divorced... Let's try this a little bit better. I can do better. Tomo, a sweet high school girl, loves living near the beach. However, after her parents get divorced, her frequent beach visits became no more. Until one day, after getting harassed on her way to school, Tomo is rescued by a selfless, very attractive stranger who somehow reminds her of the ocean. As the stranger leaves, he drops his keys, and Tomo realizes the key ring has the same stone as one given to her by a long-lost friend from her childhood. Could he be the same person? Tomo believes the sea can bestow treasures on people, and she may be about to be proven right in ways she didn't imagine. So this looks like a romance comedy manga. It's got the older teen rating. It's got the romance stamp that Tokyopop like to do. They always did their stamps for each genre. So, Volume 1, okay. Hopefully, maybe the series is picked up. I don't know. I'll have to read it and see if I actually want to continue reading it. So yeah, Sky Blue Shore, that's the next one. Alright, next we've got Strawberry Marshmallow by Barasui. At least I think I'm pronouncing it right. Now, this is Volume 5. And, oh, cat's acting up again. Okay, false alarm. This is going to be frequent, people. Alright. This time at Ito House, Nobue looks for another part-time job while the girls discover the meaning of their names, dabble in English, play hide and seek. After looking through an old photo album, the girls reminisce about the past and decide that it's time to find out where they came from. Miyu starts a quest to rehabilitate Matsuri, and in the process discover what it means to be a best friend. And just when did Nobue start smoking? Surprises abound in this volume of Strawberry Marshmallow. So, Volume 5, I have no idea. I'll have to do more research. This one's comedy, rated teen. So, yeah. So far, we've got 3 volumes that are mid-volumes. 1 volume 1. Like, 1 volume 1. So, yeah, this will be interesting. Maybe if I can find, like, copies of the library to fill me in. Who knows? Alright, next we have the... Let's see. This one is The Stellar Six of Gingacho by Yuki Fujimoto. Now, Volume 3, so once again, midway through, not the first one, so I'll have to do more research. Comedy romance targeted towards teens, which means it may not be as, well, salacious is probably not the best choice of word, but point being, appropriate for 13 and up. So let's see what the back of this book says. More charming adventures await the Stellar Six. The bond between Mike and Kuro becomes even stronger when they help a stray puppy find a home. But their relationship sparks the jealousy of other schoolgirls. Meanwhile, a crayon-scrawled treasure map reminds them all of what the bestest thing in life really are. That is a very weird sentence. I mean, it's like, bestest thing in life really are. Wouldn't that be bestest thing in life really is? Anyway, additionally, Kuro, Kyu, and Momoru must deal with the sudden fame that comes from an unknown photo sent to the magazine. So, yeah. Volume 3, not familiar with it, so I'll have to do a little bit more research to understand what the story is. So, yeah. I get the feeling that this thing was to liquidate a bunch of stock, but hey, these are from Tokyopop, which means they're probably worth something. Alright, next up we have Ion by Yuna Kagesaki. From the creator of Chibi Vampire, according to what it says on the little blurb right here. So yeah, Ion by Yuna Kagesaki. Once again, Volume 3, targeted towards older teens, looks more like a horror series. I could be wrong. It says may include aggression, slapstick humor. Okay, so it's fantasy romance. I guess I assumed horror because of the Chibi Vampire blurb. So, let's see what the back says. Ever since I'm guessing Sen, after the river. Ever since Sen entered Tatsuya's life, things have definitely taken an interesting turn. But now their fight against the evil mermaids hits closer to home as Tatsuya's childhood friend Nagisa is infected with the parasite that will make him do the mermaid's bidding. To make things worse, Nagisa seems to be going after Sen. What can Tatsuya do to protect his friend? And when one of the evil mermaids who disguises as a cute girl transferred to the school, the danger level just cranks up a notch. Whoosh. I have no idea. Once again, I'll have to do more research to fully understand the story. I may do the whole idea of seeing, okay, I'll read it and see what's what. So, yeah, Ion by Yuna Kagesaki, another Volume 3. That seems to be a magic number in this collection. Alright. Next we've got Rebirth by Wu. So I'm guessing the raccoon learned how to draw and is focusing on drawing humans. For those of you who don't get the joke, well, that's a joke about Sandra and Wu, a really good webcomic you should probably be reading. So, Volume 18, that is really far down the line, which means I am going to be completely lost. But let's see what the back blurb is. Alright, it's an action targeted towards teens. Another daring rescue. Raimi and Inaba enter the Tower of Trials where members of the Order of St. Michael are trapped. The tower is also a brutal training ground in which the monsters are unleashed and exorcists are put to the test. So I'm guessing this has to deal with exorcism and scary monsters. And my cat is wanting to go outside, so I have to let her out. Okay, I'm back. Had to let the cat outside, so now she won't be jumping up on the table or causing any more trouble. So, yeah, and then the next blurb. The battle begins. Desh finally squares off against Millennier at the Vampire Lord tournament, but soon realizes that Millennier has remarkable power, a power beyond what he has ever imagined. Somewhere between life and death, meanwhile, Grey hints at the true nature of and reason behind Millenniar's current vampiric state, as well as the much larger role she is meant to play in the grand scheme of things. So, Volume 18. Definitely going to need to do more research to figure out what's what, because, I mean, there's Volume 3 and then there's Volume 18. I mean, my god, talk about flying into something completely blind without any idea of what you're getting into. So, yeah, Rebirth by Wu. If I had to guess, well, looking at the artwork right here, it seems to be a Japanese artist, because sometimes Tokyo Pop also published manhwa series, stuff done by Korean artists as well as American artists. It was a very interesting company. Alright, next we have Silver Diamond Volume 6, Prophecy Fulfilled by Shiho Sugiura. Shiho Sugiura. Okay, that is... It's been a while since I've spoken Japanese, so my pronunciation is a little bit rusty. This is a fantasy series aimed towards teens. Back blurb says, the Imperial Prince releases a new prophecy that the world is coming to an end and all will suffer many trials along the way. But is any of it true? Or is the Imperial Prince himself who is turning it into truth? In this new ocean of unrest, Rakan is beginning to turn the tide. Okay, Volume 6. Once again, no idea what I'm getting into. So, yeah, we'll have to do more research, and pretty much see what I'm getting into. Maybe see if these individual volumes can stand on their own, but given my experience with manga, that usually isn't the case. Gonna neaten up the stack here so that way I don't topple everything over. Okay, so far we're a good chunk of the way in. 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So that's 8 volumes down. A total, I'm assuming, of 17 to go, because it was 25 volumes of manga. Alright, so next up we have Mark of the Succubus. Story by Ashley Rady, and art by Irene Flores. So like I mentioned earlier, sometimes Tokyo Pop published stories by American writers and American artists. They even used to have a competition called Rising Stars of Manga, where people could submit their stories that they did. I remember seeing a really good version of The Little Match Girl that somebody submitted. And it kind of shows in the artwork that this was definitely an American artist trying to mimic the anime style. Alright, so since it's Volume 1, the back blurb will give us an idea of the premise. So let us see what it says. For a succubus, love can be a real night... Not a little picking up. Oh, wait, can't edit this, so yeah. For a succubus, love can be a real nightmare. Maeve, a succubus in training, is sent to the human world to learn how to hone her skills of seduction. But things get a bit complicated when she sets her sights on Aiden, a smart but unmotivated student at her new high school. Meanwhile, the head succubus of the demon world has sent a spy to make sure Maeve doesn't step out of line. But between Aiden's witchy girlfriend and his nutty best friend, biology class, and the demon world conspiracies, Maeve is going to be lucky to make it out of this high school alive. Finalists in Tokyo Pop's Rising Star of Manga competition, Ashley Rady and Irene Flores have created a gothic romantic fantasy set in one of the most menacing worlds known to humans, high school. So yeah, it shows that they got through the Rising Stars of Manga competition. Kind of shows in the artwork. Maybe it looks better in black and white than it does in color, because that tends to be a problem with some manga artwork, is that sometimes it looks better in black and white, but adding color to it just makes it look a little bit awkward, especially when your colorists may not necessarily know what they're doing. I've seen some really bad colorists, not from Tokyo Pop per se, but I've seen some local illustrators do really bad coloring jobs, so it's something to watch out for, and I've even been guilty of it myself. So yeah, Mark of the Succubus, Volume 1, by Ashley Rady and Irene Flores, an American duo. So, yeah. And once again, Me and My Brothers, this time jumping from volume 6 to volume 10. So we're skipping over 4 complete volumes, which is a good, trying to think, that's a good 16 chapters, because each manga volume tends to have 3 or 4. So, yeah, Me and My Brothers, volume 10, by, and I forgot to mention this earlier, art and story by Hari Tokeino. Alright, let's see what happened in between volume 6, volume 10, and what the setup is here. The peace at the Miyashita home is interrupted when a small child named Makoto, who looks extraordinarily like Masashi, shows up in search of her father. Masashi swears he's not the father, well, that's something for Moripovich to settle, but he thinks he knows who he is. Meanwhile, it's time for the grand reopening of Tsuyoshi's cafe. Will rumors of a ghost keep customers away? And what will Sakura do when she discovers Nana telling another girl that he's dating Sakura? Okay. Completely Lost, once again, volume 10. Tons of stuff missing in between. So, once again, I'll have to do a good chunk of research in order to make sure that I know what the hell is going on, to see if this is even a series that I would want to follow. It's targeted toward teens, a comedy, so nothing too raunchy that I have to worry about, but again, not all comedies are meant for everybody, so once again, another in the middle of the story jump, so let's move on. Next, we've got Togainu no Chi. So, this one is done by, the print is really small, so it's done by, okay, I have to look it up. Suguro Chayamachi and Nitro Plus Chiral. I'm guessing it's pronounced I'm guessing Chiral because that spelling and that word, I've heard it in Trauma Center and they pronounce it Chiral, but maybe it's Chiral. I have no idea. It's kind of annoying when artists and mangaka or even American artists decide to go with some of these more cryptic names. I mean, at least with Guruhiru, it's easy to pronounce and easy to read, but what am I just why? So yeah, this one is volume 4. Once again, starting a little bit past the beginning. Let's see what it says. It says, developments in the murky world of Toshima escalate as the participants of Igura obsessively seek out addictive 50% pure line. What path will Akira take after witnessing the grotesque aftermath of the bloody massacre while constantly being hunted by Takeru, who is more savagely deluded and intoxicated with each encounter? And to what twisted lengths will the disheartened Keisuke go in order to prove himself to Akira? Old mysteries unravel, and it becomes apparent that there is no hope for change, much less survival. So, meant for older teens, include moderate violence, gore, alcohol, and tobacco references and usage. It's an action manga. It seems to be a little bit kind of like Battle Royale almost, based on the synopsis we've got here, except set in a fantasy world, so main character kind of reminds me a bit of Squall. Hopefully he's not as annoying as Squall. Yeah, I don't care. I'm not a big fan of Final Fantasy VIII, so yeah, I'll have to do more again, this is going to be a repeated line. I'm going to have to do research on a lot of these in order to understand what the hell is going on. Alright, I had to cut the camera because it shut off on its own. I don't know how far back, so let's take a look at the next one. This one is Your and My Secret by Ai Morinaga. Now, it's volume 2, which means it's not quite in the middle of the story, but we are missing the initial setup, so let's see what the back blurb can tell us about the premise. Be careful what you wish for, or you might just get it, and discover that you like it. So, meaning it's not something we really have to be careful about, I guess. Alright, moving on. When Akira Uehara, overlooked because he doesn't open his mouth, and Nanako Moe, looked over until she opens her mouth, switch bodies, they find their new selves surprisingly comfortable. Unfortunately, they're not the only ones. Akira and Nanako's pre-swap best friends are now drawn to them post-op, and they want to spend the night. Akira and Nanako will have to do more than just tango in this volume of Your and My Secret. Well, since this is volume 2, it probably won't be as hard for me to do some research and figure out just kind of what this is about, and at least the back blurb gives you an idea of what the premise is, more than some of the previous back issues that I've been seeing in this box so far. So, with that, let's move on to the only duplicate that I actually have, like the only volume of a manga that I actually already own, and that is Pearl Pink by Mecha Tanaka. I don't even really have to. Well, I guess I'll read the back blurb since I've done it with all the others. So it's a romance comedy. I've read this volume before because I bought a copy from the library and I found it to be pretty enjoyable. So here's the basic rundown. Buckle up and get ready for a bumpy ride down the road to true love. When the sweet, bubbly, and somewhat clumsy Tamako sets her sights on the ever-so-serious Kanji, it's more of a struggle to get the romance to spark. It's more than a struggle to get the romance to spark. Jeez, I really should work on my reading. But the challenge becomes even tougher. Tamako's mom is the top money maker at the talent agency run by Kanji's dad. Tamako must conceal her identity to protect her mom's secret, but she's determined to become the perfect pearl of a woman and nab the man of her dreams. Now, I actually found this pretty enjoyable when I read it. At least I'll actually pull out the copy that I actually have. Hold on a second. Gotta get past stuff. So yeah, this is the copy that I already had. That's one I bought from a library when they were selling it, because sometimes when things aren't getting checked out enough, or just when they need to get rid of some of their stock, they'll sell manga for I think I paid like 50 cents for this. I got this alongside a Trigun volume. So yeah, this is the one case where I actually have a duplicate volume. And once again, both by happenstance. So I've enjoyed it. Kind of wish it was the next volume, but beggars can't really be choosers when you get the mystery box. So yeah, Pearl Pink by Mecha Tanaka. I've enjoyed it. So it's nice to have a not library bound copy. So hey, I can lend this one out to friends and keep this one for myself. Okay. Alright, next up, we have Kill Me, Kiss Me by Lee Young-yo, which this is an example of one of Tokyopop's titles that's done by a Korean artist and not a Japanese artist. So it's not so much manga as it would be considered manhwa, which is the actual term used in Korean for comics. And this is volume 5, so once again, kind of flying into this, not exactly in the middle, but flying into this without knowing the initial setup, which could either be a good thing or a bad thing, depending on the story. Sometimes some parts are standalone, sometimes they're not. Given this, it probably isn't, so let's see what the back blurb is. There's something about... I apologize to any Korean listeners or viewers of this video, because I do not know how to pronounce it, so I'll try my best. There's something about Kwei Min. Things are heating up between Kwei Min and Jung Woo. After getting locked in a room together, Jung Woo begins to talk about his troubled childhood, prompting Kwei Min to offer up a little TLC. When Gun Ham finds out about the duo's whereabouts, will he arrive in time to interrupt their special moment together? Okay, this is gonna be interesting, because I've read some Korean manhwa before. I mean, there's one that I feel is my particular favorite. I just can't remember what the actual title of it is. It's kind of one of those anthology manhwa about, like, reincarnation, stuff like that. It was really interesting. So, the artwork looks pretty promising. I mean, it's obviously taking some influence from Japanese manga, but that's the thing with Korean manhwa that I've seen is that they tend to take some influence from Japanese manga, but they can kind of sometimes have their own visual style, especially when you see some of the more historical ones that deal with things like the Hwarang, or even some of the mythology in Korea. So, yeah, so like I mentioned, this is one of the examples of a title done by a Korean artist that Tokyopop distributed here in America. Next up, we have by Natsuki Takaya, the person behind Fruits Basket, or says stories from the creator of Fruits Basket, Songs to Make You Smile. Now, I don't see a volume number, which means this is probably a standalone anthology, which a lot of mangaka tend to do either when they're at the end of a series, or often they do anthology one-shot chapters to kind of break their way into the industry. And so that's probably what this is. So let's take a look at the back blurb. In these touching and unforgettable stories from Natsuki Takaya, young men and women search for things that mean the most to them, from the love of a deceased father to the perfect uplifting melody. And finally, a side story from Tsubasa, Those with Wings, not to be confused with Tsubasa Reservoir Chronicle. It is a completely separate manga. I've heard of it because I've seen it in stores, and I've also nearly been confused myself. So it's Tsubasa, Those with Wings, not by Clamp, has nothing to do with Tsubasa Reservoir Chronicle. I want to make that clear. So, given that this is an anthology, it means that it's no pre-established story, just a collection of short stories, which means it'll make for an interesting read. Although the Those with Wings chapter I probably won't really understand because I haven't read Tsubasa Those with Wings. But hey, at least it's a little bit better to have a collection of short stories or a volume one than to be thrust into the middle. So, yeah, this looks promising. It'll look like it'll be an enjoyable read. Alright, next we've got Pita 10 by Koge Donbo. That sounds like a writing team name, possibly a pseudonym, which is actually pretty common amongst mangaka as well. And it's volume 1, which means we're starting at the very beginning. So, alright, and let's see what it says here. It says, a lonely lad, an adorable angel, and hyperactive hijinks. That is the tagline. Let's see what the actual main premise is. It seems to be a romance manga, so it says, it's a hard knock life for Kotaro. His father is always away on business, and his mother recently passed away. He spends a lot of time alone, and he hates it. Maybe he can make good use of his solitude. His middle school exams are looming ahead, and he needs to buckle down and study hard. But his concentration, along with his loneliness, is shattered when a zany girl named Misha unexpectedly moves in next door to him. Soon, Misha starts cropping up everywhere Kotaro goes. Although she seems to have a stalker's mentality, Misha claims she's an angel. Her mission? To make sure Kotaro is happy and safe. That's a tall order since Misha seems to know almost nothing about life on Earth. It's a premise I've heard before, like either angel, alien, demon. There was that stupid anime about these girl Santas. So, yeah, it could be interesting. Not really my cup of tea, but I'll give it a shot. I mean, it's here in the box. Couldn't hurt to read, so yeah, it's worth a look. And I mentioned Chibi Vampire earlier because we have Chibi Vampire, the novel, Volume 6. Story by Toru Kai and art by Yuna Kagesaki. I have to slow down. So that's the person behind Ion, who seems to be the artist for Chibi Vampire, thus the blurb on Tokyopop. Now, somewhat familiar with the series, can never really quite get into it, and the big difference here is that it's a prose novel. So it's basically a light novel, kind of in the same vein as stuff like Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya. So here it's not nearly as bad per se. I mean, I'll have to do an initial research to figure out who the characters are, but at least it's a self-contained story, which means it'll at least be easier to read and get into because it's not thrust right in the middle, has a prologue. It's kind of like the Vampire Hunter D novels, where you don't have to read from the very beginning in order to understand the story. Granted, that may not be the case here, but it seems promising enough. So let's see what the back blurb tells us. Unlike the rest of her vampiric family, Karin is compelled to inject blood into her victims. When a boy named Jake turns up, claiming to be her long lost brother, Karin's family is thrown into an uproar, and once Jake's brother becomes involved, things really get complicated. On top of it all, Kenta suspects that there may be something romantic going on between Karin and Jake. Can Karin keep her true nature hidden, untangle the secrets of her family's past, and keep Kenta close to her? Find out in this novel. Which, well, it's interesting to see light novels. I mean, I remember they were published like this. Remember there was the Devil May Cry one, and okay, for a moment I thought that said Batman for a second. So, who knows? Maybe it'll be worth a read. And it's a prose novel, so it means it'll last a little bit longer. But then again, I've blazed through these pretty quickly when it comes to the small, shorter ones, like the Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya novels. I haven't read all of them, but the ones I've read, I blazed through pretty quickly. Alright, next up, we have Summoner Girl by Hiroshi Kubota. Once again, Volume 1, start of the story, which means, hey, I won't be lost. Alright, so, back blurb. In the world of the Exorcist Underground, the 4th grader Hibiki summons Shikigami to fight for the safety of mankind. Well, at least it explains it, but my brain just had to kind of stop for a second because a 4th grader. Okay. Along with being a normal schoolgirl and battling dangerous spirits called Ayakashi, Hibiki has also been tasked with finding 6 magical jewels that'll make her the next leader of the Exorcists. But with fumbling friends, giant evil spiders, and fantastical rivals, it looks like her quest will be less than easy. I'm not sure what to make of this. Once again, not exactly my cup of tea. Seems kind of like a entry into the magical girl genre. So, who knows? Maybe Alex might like it. I'll read it. see what he knows about it. And yeah, so Summon a Girl by Hiroshi Kubota. Alright, next up we have Vampire Doll Volume 3 by Erika Kari. And it has a subtitle that says Guilt Na Zan. I'm guessing that was probably the actual title, but it was renamed to Vampire Doll for publication here in the US, which was actually a pretty common practice back in the days of the anime boom, where they would rename titles of anime and manga to basically make it easier to list it in program listings, in book listings, and to just try to sell it to Western audiences that didn't want to pronounce the full title. And at least this isn't nearly as weeby as I've seen certain titles in more recent history, like Love, Chunibyo, and Other Delusions, which I still freaking think that title is so stupid. I don't know why they went with it, but anyway, I digress. So, let's see what the back blurb says. Okay, so apparently Guilt Nazan is the name of a character, so it says, Guilt Nazan's life has never been easy since being put into the body of a female doll, but what happens when he wakes up and he's the size of a mouse? If that wasn't enough, he then has to become a fashion model for some crazy stylist. Just what factors led Guilt Nazan to become the great vampire that he is? The answers may lie in the past, before Guilt Nazan was sealed away for 100 years. Okay, this back blurb clues me in a little bit, something about a vampire being sealed in a doll. Oh. So, not really sure. It's volume 3, like a lot of the other volumes here, so I'll have to do a little bit of research to really understand the story here. So, yeah, Vampire Doll by Erika Kari, which my guess is that this is either possibly an American artist or just a coincidence. Looking at the artwork, it's probably just a coincidence and it's a Japanese artist. So, yeah, I'll have to do a little bit more research and figure out what the hell is going on. Next, we have another Volume 1 by the name of Zone Zero, art and story by Kiyo. I'm guessing that's supposed to be a play off the word Kujo or Kyujo. And it's apparently from the artist that did Trinity Blood. Now, I remember Trinity Blood was moderately popular back before Tokyo Pop folded. There was like an anime adaptation. Some of my friends were into it. A lot of people compared it to Hellsing. Not sure if that's a good comparison or not, because frankly, I was kind of not interested when it was in its heyday. So, Volume 1, which means start of the story. Let's see what the back blurb can tell us. In a world where humans and demons coexist under a fragile peace, change is coming. A mysterious drug known only as Zone Zero seems to be causing demons all over Tokyo to lose control and revert to their old violent ways. Enter two young students who stand on opposite sides of an ageless conflict. One a demon, the other an exorcist. They must now join forces to uncover the secret of Zone Zero before it's too late. From the artist of Trinity Blood comes a dark, suspenseful tale in which the 2 centuries-old enemies fight together to save humanity. Okay, kind of reminds me a little bit of Shin Megami Tensei a little bit. I mean, like demons, exorcists working together, the whole drug thing reminds me very much of Shin Megami Tensei 4 and the Reds, and how they're possibly, it may even be kind of give me some insight as to how the drug may be made. Spoilers for anybody who, well, has not played Shin Megami Tensei 4. Not going to go much further, because if you haven't played it and you have a 3DS, play it. But, yeah, looks promising. The artwork looks alright. So, yeah. It'll be an interesting choice. Kind of wish I got this before Halloween, because I seem to be getting a lot of horror-themed volumes here. Right, next up we have Dazzle by Minari Endo, Volume 8. Again, not a Volume 1, starting in the middle of the story, so not really sure what I'm getting into, so let's see what the back blurb can tell us. After Razel's father kicked her out of the house to test her magical abilities in the real world, she embarked on the adventure of a lifetime when she joined the formidable Al-Zaid, I'm guessing it's Al-Zaid, and his search for the woman who killed his father. They finally make it to the town where Al-Zaid hopes to gather clues, but will he like the answers he finds? The truth behind the night Razel was abandoned in the woods as a child is finally revealed, and at long last, Razel's father shows his face. So it seems like a fantasy drama show, using a lot of really foreign-sounding, somewhat biblically-sounding names. I'll have to do research, like I keep saying throughout this video, in order to understand what is going on, maybe see if the library has earlier volumes. May not be the case, because, well, definitely an obscure series right here that I most certainly haven't heard of. So, yeah. Next up, we have Gothic Sports by Anike Hage. Now, I've heard of this series before because I saw Volume 1 available at one of the libraries I like to frequent because, well, libraries are a good place to find things that are either out of print or published by defunct companies. I mean, that's how I'm able to get a hold of some of the DVDs of the original Macross that ADV produced without having to buy the stupid Lionsgate Robotech sets that have the very compressed video versions of Macross. I mean, seriously, the Blu-ray came out. You can do better than that, Lionsgate. But then again, they're notorious for having really bad DVD menus. Just ask anybody who was watching Samurai. So yeah, I've heard about this. It seems to be about all the goth kids at a high school decide to form their own soccer team in order to basically have a place to fit in. Basically, more or less to rebel. So let's see what the back blurb can tell us about Volume 2. It's been a hard road, but Anya is determined to start her own soccer team. And thanks to her friend Feliza's inspirational Gothic Lolita jersey design, the topsy-turvy team has started to attract some serious attention. Do they have what it takes to compete with the official school team? It's going to take more than indie cred and high fashion if they want to take their game to the next level. So, it seems to be kind of like your typical shonen action sports manga, kind of like Inazuma 11, except with goth main characters. Artwork seems fairly promising. Not really sure about the story. I'll have to check out Volume 1 from my local library to figure out what the story is about, but at least I know where to find the first volume. And it's Volume 2, which means I don't have to search as hard or read through as many backlog volumes in order to understand what's going on. So, yeah, Gothic Sports, Anike Hage, another Tokyo Pop release. Next up, we have Hanako and the Terror of Allegory. I gotta admit, that title sounds a little bit pretentious. Sounds kind of like someone's trying to do their own version of the Phantom Toll Booth, but decides to be even less subtle. For those of you who don't know what the Phantom Toll Booth is, well, it's a book. You can find it at a library. So yeah, Hanako and the Terror of Allegory by... Jeez, what is with people printing it weird? By Sakai Esuno. So yeah, Sakai Esuno's Hanako and the Terror of Allegory. Apparently from the creator of Mirai Nikki, or Future Diary. So either this came out before Mirai Nikki became popular, or... well, I'm not sure. I'll have to look into what time Tokyo Pop went bankrupt and see if the timelines match up, because it would mean that this came out around the time that Mirai Nikki was making the rounds as a manga, which means that, I don't know. I'll have to do research about that. If anybody knows, if anybody can kind of clarify that, do so in the comments. Alright, the back blurb, since this is Volume 3, we're not starting right at the start, so Volume 3, what can you tell us? Aso has crossed the divide between human and allegory. As his battle with Kito Kokuri rages on, Hanako and Kanae try to come up with a way to return him to normal. Can they do it before he turns on them? The mysteries continue to swirl even faster around the Aso Detective Agency in this chilling volume of Hanako and the Terror of Allegory. So I'm guessing allegory in this case is not meant to be an actual allegory for anything about the human condition we don't like, but it's just their word for monster. But who knows, maybe the monsters themselves are an allegory or something, or maybe what form they take is an allegory for something about how they acted when they were human. Maybe I'm reading too deeply into this, and they probably just chose it because it sounded cool, but I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt here. Alright, next up we have Shinobi Life by Shoko Konami. Konami spelled with a C, probably to differentiate it from the video game company that's recently lost its dang mind. So, Shinobi Life, Volume 5, once again, being thrust into a later part of the story, so let's see what the backblurb can tell us. It's back to the past for Kagetora and Benny, who are desperate to finally escape her father's manipulations. But when they are separated along the journey, what will happen to Benny, who is now completely on her own, lost a long, long time ago? Kagetora desperately fights to find her once again, but in the meantime, Benny meets some surprising new companions. So I'm guessing this is like Inuyasha, where someone's sent to the past? That would be my guess, because the whole, now completely on her own, lost a long, long time ago. Possibly in a galaxy far, far away, who knows? I mean, who knows, maybe the person ends up dying alone a long, long time ago, but then they say, oh no, not me, they never lost control, we're face to face with the person who sold the world. I'm going to stop the joke right there. I'm really tired because it is really late, so yeah, I'll have to do a little bit more research, figure out what I'm getting into, see if maybe the series has been licensed by any other studio or publishing house. So, yeah, Shinobi Life, Volume 5 by Shoko Konami. Well, more research for me to do. Alright, next up, we have Scried, Volume 1, with art by Yasunari Toda and story by Yosuke Kuroda. So, Volume 1, start of the story, which means I won't be lost. The art style, based on the cover, kind of reminds me a little bit of Guilty Gear, a little bit of JoJo, so, who knows, might be promising. So, let's see what the blurb tells us about it. I mean, I've heard of the series before, but when I was a kid during the start of the anime boom, I was limited to what my sister would let me watch. And given that this is for older teens, this means that she probably would not have let me watch it. I mean, I was limited to stuff that was broadcast on Toonami, so I was limited to stuff like Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z, Rurouni Kenshin. Off the top of my head, I mean, I think the only more mature thing I watched that she allowed me to watch would have to be Gundam Endless Waltz. So yeah, here is the back blurb for Volume 1 of Scried. In the desert wasteland of a devastated Yokohama, lawless superhumans known as altar users terrorize the terrain. The remaining champions of morality and order have formed a special task force called Holy, mandated to bring these mutants to justice. However, Holy may be just as terrifying as the beasts it vows to eradicate. Only Kazuma, a lone altar user with an empathetic heart and a hair-trigger temper, stands against both, an advocate of the defenseless in a world polarized by power. So it reminds me even more of Guilty Gear here, so maybe that, I don't know if it was like one took inspiration from the other, not exactly sure when one was published. I know the original Guilty Gear was on the Dreamcast, but I'm getting a very much a Guilty Gear vibe from this. So who knows, maybe it'll be interesting. And it even has a continual blurb. It says, the manga that inspired the Japanese phenomenon that included the mega hit anime presented here for the first time in the US is in Tokyopop's 100% authentic manga format. Scried merges the mayhem of Mad Max with the outsider appeal of the X-Men in a story fraught with deranged villains, supernatural action, and political intrigue. So, Guilty Gear mixed with Fist of the North Star, that's kind of the vibe I'm getting here. And I've made my opinions clear about Mad Max, at least in the case of Fury Road, and frankly, I don't really care, but hey, seems interesting. Volume 1 probably will make for a nice action-y. Got a kind of a bit of a serious Kaiba look going for this guy here. This guy, yeah, again, I'm getting a very Guilty Gear JoJo-esque vibe from the cover here, so who knows? Maybe it'll be interesting to read through. And now, we have finally reached the last volume of manga in this mystery box. And it does not have a volume number, which means it is a one-shot. Which I'm very happy about, because I am tired of saying, oh, thrust in the middle of the story. Have to do more research. So, thank God, this thing is a one-shot. So, yeah. What we have here is Angel Nest by Erika Sakurazawa. Ooh, these names. It's been a long day. But wait. It's kind of confusing here, because is this the author? Is this the title of the story and the author is named Angel Nest? I mean, did something get switched, or is that just like a gimmick? I'm not exactly sure. So let's see if the back blurb can give us any idea. Wherever you go and whatever you do, may your guardian angel watch over you. That seems to be a common theme with a lot of these books, is guardian angels. So, let's see what it says. It says, Natsu finds her husband with another woman when she comes home early from work one day. When he asks her for a divorce, Natsu doesn't really feel sad or for some strange reason. All she can think of is what she has learned from her relationship with Ken and how she can move forward. It's late. I'm tired. Angel Nest reveals what happens when an angel visits Natsu and her life takes on a whole new meaning. And Erika Sakurazawa reveals what happens when real people are touched by an angel. So, Angel Nest seems to be the title. Honestly, whoever designed this cover, they kind of dropped the ball here because, I mean, you only do this sort of thing with someone like Stephen King, someone who's really well established. Then again, maybe this was the cover for the original story in Japan, so their hands were pretty tied. But seriously, the title is supposed to be large enough, especially since we're not exactly sure who Erika Sakurazawa is, so very weirdly designed cover, Tokyopop. Of course, not that I can really say anything now because, well, you're defunct. So, yeah, seems to be a one-shot. There's no volume number. Looking at it, it just... Well, looks like it does seem to be like an actual series. No, actually, no, it is a one-shot. It's just a series of one-shots done by the same person and seems to have some sort of connection based on this back blurb here. But hey, at least it's a one-shot. Maybe it'll be an interesting story. Maybe it'll be good like 5 centimeters per second. Who knows? But yeah, that is all to kind of go back through and put these back in the box so that I actually have somewhere to store them. So we've got, starting from the back, we've got Angel Nest by Erika Sakurazawa. We have Scribe by Yasunori Toda and Yosuke Kuroda. We've got Shinobi Life Volume 5 by Shoko Konami. We've got Hanako and the Terror of Allegory Volume 3 by Sakai Esuno, creator of Mirai Nikki or Future Diary, depending on how you want to refer to it. I've heard both. Frankly, do not care to figure out which is proper. Then we've got Gothic Sports Volume 2 by Anike Hage. We've got Dazzle Volume 8 by Minari Endo. And then we've got Zone 1 Volume 1 by the artist Trinity Blood, Kyo Kyujo, I'm guessing is the pun there. Then we've got Vampire Doll Volume 3 by Erika Kari, Summoner Girl by Hiroshi Kubota, Chibi Vampire the Novel by Toru Kai and Yuna Kagesaki. Then Pita 10 by Koge Donbo. Songs to Make You Smile by Natsuki Takaya. Kill Me Kiss Me by Lee Young-yo. Again, I apologize to anybody who speaks Korean. I am not that familiar with the language. Then we've got Pearl Pink, the one duplicate I've got in this box, mainly due to sheer coincidence, by Mecha Tanaka. Then You're My Secret by Ai Morinaga. Toga Inu no Chi, which, very weeby title. It's probably just like something's blood or something. So, Toga Inu no Chi by Shuguro Chayamachi and Nitro plus Chiral. I'm going to pronounce it Chiral because I do not care. And then Me and My Brothers, Volume 10 by Hari Tokeino. Then Mark of the Succubus by once again, Ashley Rady and Irene Flores, American artists who won the Rising Stars of Manga contest run by Tokyo Pop. I think these got out of order, but I do not care. And then Silver Diamond by Shiho Sugiura. Rebirth, Volume 18. So I forgot. Volume 6 of Silver Diamond. Volume 18 of Rebirth by Woo. Then you got Ion, Volume 3 by Yuna Kagesaki, the artist who worked on, where is it? Chibi Vampire, there she is. And then The Stellar Six of Gingacho by Yuki Fujimoto. Then Strawberry Marshmallow by Barasui, which I'm guessing is a team name or a pseudonym. And then Sky Blue Shore by Nanpei Yamada. Me and My Brothers Volume 6, once again by Hari Tokeino. And the very first volume that I saw being Gravitation Volume 3 by Maki Murakami. So yeah, those are the volumes of manga I got in... Get in there. Okay. So yeah, these are the volumes of manga that I got in this special release from Crunchyroll. So, some of them seem to be hits. At least I got a good chunk of volume 1s and one-shots that I can actually enjoy without having to do a bunch of extensive research. Got a bunch of other ones that I'll have to do a lot of research, some a lot more than others. And so, yeah, interesting assortment of the manga that I got from Crunchyroll. So, yeah, looking forward to what I get through the DVD bundle. And with that, it is getting really late, like approaching midnight at the time of recording, and I need to go to bed. So, with that, I'll bid you all good night, good rest. Hopefully the change in hours for daylight savings hasn't completely messed you up. And if you haven't filled out your ballot yet for voting day, if you're in a municipality that is doing it completely by mail, do so now and make sure to find a polling location so that way you can actually, cast your vote. Granted, it's not a presidential election, but voting is your civic duty. That is your PSA for tonight, and I am going to sleep. Good night.